Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. We're working on Snowball today. Gonna show you what I've got done so far, what I'm working on, and today we're going to do something, surprise, surprise, that I mentioned that I wasn't really happy with and might do. We're gonna change the front cross member. Not happy with the way the front motor mount is. I've been doing other things for a little while now, just kind of stewing on it and then figuring out if I wanted to just deal with it the way it was, and I've decided that I don't. And there's a couple of reasons for that, okay? So let me first show you what we're gonna do, and then I'll explain why I want to do it. This is what we've got. This is where we are so far. With the engine, I've got the throttle linkage done. I've got the air compressor hooked up, except for the governor line. The governor's not back on the firewall yet. We've started doing our coolant plumbing, 1/2-inch silicone hose from the bypass on the back of the head. It's going to go through the compressor and then down and under across the front and back up to a T right there, which will be plumbed into that right there, which is the suction. So obviously this doesn't have anything to do with the cross member, but I'm trying to explain some of the other stuff I've done. So the 6BT has a habit of getting really hot on cylinder 6 because there's nowhere for the coolant to go back there until the thermostat opens up, and then everything rushes forward. So what a lot of guys have been doing for the past few years is running a small bypass to keep the coolant circulating in the block while the thermostat's closed, so you don't get a hot spot back there. That tends to score cylinder 6 and makes the head swell. They can crack on cylinder 6, breaks the exhaust manifold like you saw when I first picked this motor up, stuff like that. So we're doing that, and we're keeping the compressor cool at the same time. Got the firewall insulated. You've already seen that. Up here, we've started on our heater hose plumbing for the personnel heater. I've got, and I haven't made a video on this, but I built a bracket and redid the plumbing for the primary filter here yesterday. This is a Napa 4770 filter head. This is the one I always use, the 14 by 1 thread filter head. Gives you a lot of options. So I'm going to run probably a 2 micron filter on that, because the one on the motor is only a 15, and that's unacceptable. We've got our starter wiring started. It's not done. Got our ground, our block ground, one of the two done. Test fitting some of our intake stuff. Of course, this is going to turn and come down because we're running a 5-ton intake on the fender. Got that done over there. Still got to get that plumbed though. I've got to modify some of this wiring here. We've got our fan clutch and all figured out. It's coming along nicely. Got the central vent system all but done. We're getting a lot of our stuff bolted back on the firewall in here. Still got to do the pedal bumpers and that. I'll do a short video on that when I get to it. But the cross member. The cross member is the problem today. I'm not happy with the way it is. I'm not happy with the angle it sits, the stresses it imparts in it, and the rivets on this cross member actually were loose already. When I had the engine out, you could grab the cross member and move it just a little, which not a huge deal, not, you know, it's not earth-shattering or anything, but it's not good. You know, that's this truck was in service and you found loose rivets, that would be a deadline item. They would have to take the truck off the line for that. So you repair that either by heating the rivets and repainting them, or removing them and replacing them with good grade 8 fine thread bolts and lock nuts. So what we're going to do is we're going to do away with this whole thing. We're going to cut these rivets out. I'm not going to use a torch. I'll probably use a grinder, and even, you know, my little 3-inch like roll-lock disc grinder with a 36 grit disc. Just grind the heads off and knock them out with my air hammer. And then when we put the new cross member in, I'm going to have to drill 8 holes. And I drilled 2 holes to mount that because I had to mount that farther back, that filter head. It was mounted here before, but the hose, the radiator hose is here, so I had to move it back. The frames on these, they're not hardened, okay? It's just mild steel. They're still not easy to drill. It's 1/4 inch steel, and with a hand drill, not easy. Then somebody has my mag drill right now. He's had it for quite a while, actually, so. This is the cross member we're going to use. This is the old style bolt-in cross member. I don't know why they didn't keep this style, because it made engine swaps and all really easy. You just take the 4 big, I guess they're 3/4 inch bolts out, and you don't even have to get the engine up over the cross member. You just swing the whole thing out with the radiator and all on it. So we're putting this in, and as I mentioned, these are the 4 rivets. I'll have to cut these off as well, knock them out. But not a big deal. I don't have to go into the bottom of the frame at all, so I'm happy about that. Just 4 holes in each side. What this does is it moves the whole cross member back, and I'll show you. Let's show you how far. We put our tape here. We pull it back. We have from the end of the frame ear to the center of the cross member. We have, why does it look different on the camera? It looks like 15 on the camera, but it's actually 14.5. Right there is center line. Maybe it's just the angle I'm holding it. Anyway, so 14.5 inches. Damn it. 14.5 inches from the frame ear to the center line of the beam on here. And actually, we can do this. It's, how far is it back to the mount here? It's about 17.5. So if we come over here and we lay our tape here, we hook it on the end of the frame ear. 14.5 puts us right here on the cross member. Okay, so you see the general area. So that's way farther back than the mount on there now. And 17.5 right here, center line. It puts us almost even with the engine mount on the motor. So that's going to be a lot stiffer and a lot sturdier. I am going to have to remake that bracket. I'll probably just cut, and it's only heavy tacked on there. I've never finish welded that because I knew I wasn't happy with it. So I'll cut that off. These plates, I don't know if I'll be able to reuse them, but I'll reuse that 3/4 inch piece of flat bar for the center, and just build some other brackets with ears from the mounts on that to that centerpiece. And I've already done some measuring. It's not too far off. And I think I'll be a lot happier with that. And what it does, you see, with this plate here sitting on top of this cross member, I don't have any room to go down with anything. If I wanted to put a taller radiator in, taller intercooler, if I wanted to just move things down for any reason, I can't. With that cross member, that whole front tray unbolts. It comes off. I don't have to have that to hold the engine up. So if I ever want to take this off, I can have a radiator that goes down below the cross member, an intercooler that goes down below the cross member, and I could maybe run the medium duty fan and stuff later on if I find that I'm towing things with the truck at some point and the cooling of that aluminum radiator just isn't enough. If I've got to do upgrades later on, this cross member will give me better options to do so. I might as well do it now instead of ignoring it when it's easy and having to do it later anyway. So that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna get my PPE on and start cutting away, and get that cross member cut out first and get that frame out of the way. and the wrecker turned around with the vise up here so I can do some more fab work. And then I'll go about holding this up and cutting this one out. Didn't want to, but the smart thing to do is just to go ahead and do it now. It's a better option. So yeah, it's going to put more metal shavings all over the place. This thing's going to need a hell of a wash when I'm done, but got to get it done, because the front cross member, this is what's holding me up for the most part. Once I get this done, I can get the wiring across, I can get the plumbing across the front, I can put the radiator in. You know, everything is hinging on this right now, or a lot of things. So it is what it is. I had to get off my ass and finally make that decision, because waiting around, you know, I was thinking, well, you know, I'll get Larry to make those bushings for this and I'll be happy with it. But just thinking about it, even with that, I'm not going to be happy with it. 'Cause I have an idea that later on down the road I may have to put a bigger radiator in it. So not sure. What I have may work just fine for years, but on the off chance that it doesn't, I need to be ahead of the curve on that. So doing what I got to do. Guys, check out our sponsors. They are in the description below. I've gotten all of my parts that I've needed for this from Big Mike, and all of our paint has come from rapcoparts.com. If you haven't tried them before, give them a shot. I guarantee you won't be displeased with the performance of the product. So we appreciate you watching. You want to see the rest of this, subscribe. There's a lot more videos coming on this 6BT swap and the deuce restoration and other things going on after that. So subscribe, and we'll see you later. Thank you.